Here you can see this is one way we stake trees here on campus. We do wood stakes. They're non-treated stakes, so you don't have to worry about any chemicals or anything like that. You can get them anywhere, Lowe's, Walmart, any place like that, probably the mill. They're readily available. It's just a pine furring strip and stakes. The couple things to think about is, I know there's kits out there for homeowners to use. I think this is a better way to do it, in my opinion. A lot of those stakes, homeowner kits, it either goes into the ball, the root ball itself, or into the loose soil that you've created around it. And really that defeats the purpose kind of, because you want it to be stable. With that loose soil or the ball, it's not going to be as stable. So we go outside of the loose soil into the ground, and that's where we stake them. So it's a little bit bigger, but that's good because we make our mulch ring a little bit bigger too. So they could be a tripping hazard, I suppose, but we mulch over them. Unless you're not paying attention, you really shouldn't have an issue. The one thing that we like about these too is we don't have to take them off. We just let them be. Within a couple years, they start to degrade. We've seen a couple times where we freshen a mulch, and the zone people have pulled them and they're half rotten on the bottom side. So with the mulch and the water and everything, they start to degrade by themselves, and you do it once and you're done. You don't have to think about it. The one thing I would caution against is here, you want it to be on the ball, but you don't want it to be too close to the trunk, because even though they can degrade and they get soft after a couple of years, you don't want it to be too close where it can rub up against the trunk as the trunk enlarges. So that's the one caution or concern I would have. Just make sure you space it out enough, but you want it to be in the meat of the ball, not on the edge where it can slip off. We've got it filled back in. We put a mulch ring around, or a water reservoir around it. And part of what we did is come out outside of those stakes like we talked about, just to hopefully prevent anyone from tripping. The other thing is we don't put any soil on the root ball. We don't want to cover the root ball. And we water it in before we mulch, just so in case the soil sinks a little bit, we can add some more. A lot of times air pockets will settle in and you'll get a big hole in there. So we watered in a little bit just to make sure everything's okay and we don't have to add more soil. And you can tell by some of the shots there's some fertilizer here, and looks like Osmocote, slow release, but that was in the container when we planted it. We don't normally fertilize the first year after we plant a tree. We want it to kind of establish it's going through a stress period anyway, so we don't want to potentially stress it more or burn the root tips or anything like that. So we put the ring around it, and then we water it in, and then we'll end up mulching it, and we'll end up watering it again just to get a good soaking. You really want to give it a good soaking when you plant it. It's going to go through some stress, so you want to soak and make sure the soil gets in, and you want to really focus on the root ball as well and make sure that gets really wet. And then for the future, we normally try to water our trees for the first year, hopefully the first 2 years. It depends on the zones and how many trees we have and what's going on, but we try for at least 2 years to do it, definitely for a year. And there's some research out there, in the past a lot of people say you want to water it in slowly and deeply. There's some newer research out there for transplants and new trees that it's better to give them short waterings, more frequent. So we water our trees 3 times a week, and we base it on the DBH. It's 5 gallons of water per DBH a tree. This is a 30 gallon, but probably a 1.5 inch. So we'll probably give it about, I would say it's better to go over a little bit. So we'll give it 10 gallons per watering. And we have the zone guys check though. We say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That doesn't mean they have to do it. If it's wet or it's holding water, then you don't want to continue to water it. You want to make sure it's adequately moist, but you don't want to overwater. So we have them probe before they water. And so hopefully it could be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It could be Monday. It could be Monday and Wednesday. It just depends on how well it's holding and if it needs the water. You don't want to give it too much because that can kill it. And so we'll normally fertilize in the second year after that, but then the watering, I think, is really the most critical part of the aftercare. When you plant, also you want to prune anything that's broken or damaged. After that, we normally wait till year 2 to really kind of get into structural pruning, let it get established. You don't want to take any green off too early, so we let it get established, and then year 2, we might start our structural pruning on it. And so this may seem a little different than a lot of people think about. You just dig a hole and put the tree in there, but it's really worth the effort. You go through a little bit more effort up front, and that's going to set the tree up for a better quality of life later on. The more you give it attention now in the first 10 years or so, the better the tree is going to perform and the more happy you're going to be with it.